the I statements. I feel, I feel. Instead of you did, you did. I know, I know. This is stuff that you have heard, I am sure, in grade school. Because when you really high, I feel you could use it incorrectly. I feel that you're being an itch. You know what I'm saying? Like that's that's not the way you need to use that. It's not how it's supposed to go. All right. We have all been here before. Now, one person that I know can't tell me that this has not happened to them, where you're blaming someone for something that they did, or they're blaming you for something that you did. This is something that happens in a lot of relationships, a lot of marriages, and it's something that is just a major problem. So I've covered 2 videos already earlier in this series. I realized it's going to be a 5-part series. First, I thought it was going to be covered in 2, but then I realized, it's just easier to break down the 5 by each piece. So these are just some signs that I'm giving you that help you understand if your marriage needs urgent attention. So the first one that we covered was communication breakdown. And again, like, comment, subscribe. Please leave comments. It helps me out so much to know your thoughts. I enjoy them, truthfully. So again, first one that we spoke about in the first video was communication breakdown, how detrimental that can be in a marriage, right? If you don't know what that looks like, go back and watch the first video, because I ain't gonna have a lot of time to repeat that here. The second one that we spoke about was emotional distance, feeling like roommates in your own home, married to your wife. That's not a good way to feel. And the third one I kind of alluded to today, and so if you don't know, well, you're about to know, and that is the blame game, right? Constant blaming or criticizing of how your spouse does something or how you do something. Automatically, this is going to stop progress. It will not allow you guys to move forward on anything until someone decides not to blame, but starts changing how the communication happens. If you're blaming all the time and criticizing all the time, that person, your spouse or yourself, you're gonna feel like crap. You're gonna never feel like anyone does ever anything wrong, right? Your spouse might feel that way, that I can never do anything right. You might feel like you can never do anything right. And constant criticizing, how's that gonna make a person feel good? Would it make you feel good if you're getting criticized all day? No, it wouldn't. So doing it to your spouse, same thing. It's gonna make her feel like crap, and those are things that we just cannot do if we expect a marriage to actually thrive. If you expect a marriage to grow and become something of value, then criticizing and blaming somebody for what they did or how they're not doing something, it will stunt the growth of the marriage and can honestly destroy it completely. If that's what you're looking for, here's what you do. If you're not looking for that, don't do it. So what people usually do when they're blaming is they're constantly pointing out the flaws of their spouse. So, men, I'm going to speak from our part and us being the ones to do this, okay? So I'm not going to speak about the wives doing this right now, but women, if you're listening to this too, you can understand. Men, you can understand if it's happening to you. You can put it however, right? But I'd like to focus on us men in a different way. So in this situation, again, pointing out the flaws often, right? Your wife, she doesn't do things like you. We know. And you don't do things like her. We're built differently. But it's a constant pointing out of those things, that the flaws that she has, right? Like she doesn't, season the food well. She doesn't clean the laundry the right way. She puts up the stuff incorrectly and all that. And that's just like, then do it yourself. Like, why bother her in those areas if you know there's something that can be done? Don't criticize, just assist. Maybe she's got a lot on her plate already, right? And so these are areas that we should be able to step up on and help. Now, if you're the one being criticized and blamed, I feel for you, because it ain't easy, man. And this is why we have these outlets, because you don't want to ever feel like you're by yourself. You don't want to ever feel like you're out here alone, right? Because it ain't easy to feel that way. There's a lot that goes on when you're alone, and be a man alone is not a good thing. And God even said this in his word: it's not good that man should be alone. So he created a helper in that situation. So at the end of the day, if you're a person who constantly point out flaws in your spouse, just know that this is a sign again of a, a marriage that needs urgent attention. So please work on those areas. If you need to really fix that, fix it. Another part is just like focusing on who's right, right? And it's trying to sometimes prove a point. Me and my wife were talking about this recently. You know, people trying to constantly prove points. It's like you shared something with your wife a while back. She tells you, no, that's not true. That is not true. That is not true. And then all of a sudden, guess what happens? The thing that wasn't true now is true. And then guess what you're there for? To let her know, see, I told you. I tried telling you this is exactly what happened. See, y'all know what I'm talking about. If you've never done that, okay, you're better than I am, because I have done that in the past many a times, and it got me nowhere, because it was like, now you got the point proven, so now what? Now you don't get no sex. Now you arguing with your wife even more. Um, doors are closed, bro. So was it worth it to prove your point? Maybe in the moment, but long term, it ain't gonna be worth it. So if people are focusing more on who is right, technically, like that's not going to fix anything, because then there's always going to be about who won and somebody losing, right? You won the argument, she lost the argument. She won the argument, you lost the argument. So guess what? There's still a loss somewhere. The whole goal is to have a win or coming to an agreement so you guys can both win. It may not be exactly what you want. In the end, you still might not get exactly what you wanted. She might not get exactly what she wanted, but there's still the agreement that you are making, and you both are sacrificing something to work it out together. That's the whole point of this, is to come back together again. So it doesn't mean you have to always get your way. That doesn't mean she always has to get her way too. Might feel like that's the case, but there are times you can work through. If you have a communication breakdown and you're working through that, this is how you get to that next level. Talk about these things, right? And then also, are you constantly getting annoyed over the small things, and those small annoyances are turning in and escalating into these massive fights? Not a good look. I like saying that today. Not a good look. Not a good look. Because it's not. Sometimes it's just a small little trigger, right? Things that really shouldn't even matter at all, that can trigger you so hard that it puts you out for a day. A whole day. Now, I don't know how fast you guys recover, but back in the day for me, I'd be out for a whole week, bro. I'd be out for a whole week. Like, I would just shut down completely. I wouldn't say nothing. I'd be dead quiet. And I know that wasn't healthy, because who would want to live like that? I know it was easy for me. I could just move on with my life and be like, whatever, I don't care, and just handle my business. But doing those things, taking the small little problems and making them act like they're big, the enemy's all in there. That's all he does. He starts small. He doesn't start always with big problems. He takes very, very, very small problems, and they become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger over time. And before you know it, all these issues that were small that turn to these massive things, now there's the next time that is a small thing that happens and automatically becomes a big thing, because all of the small arguments have turned into bigger things. So it's just easy to take that small problem and now turn it into a big problem, because you never took the time to figure out how to address the small problem and keep it a small problem by beating the small problem, because you let it escalate into a big one. Until you figure out how to overcome those areas, you are not going to be successful in learning how to not blame somebody else or criticize somebody else. This is an area that you're going to deal with for a very long time if you don't figure it out. So first thing you need to do is you got to find the solution, not a problem. Find a solution and not a problem. What's the way to fix this, right? Don't focus on the problem. focus on the solution. If you find a solution quicker, then the faster you'll be able to not blame somebody. Because the longer you focus on the problem, the more finger pointing is going to happen in all of it. And then take time to acknowledge their strengths. Men, it's okay. Talk about your wife and how good she is. Talk about the things that she has done. Talk about the things that she may not be doing right now, but just speak them over her, even if she ain't doing them, right? Even if she is not doing the thing right now, it doesn't mean that you can't speak those words out of your mouth and start manifesting those things over time. The more good you speak into somebody, eventually that, at a young age, that's all they can think. If you tell them that they can't lose, then guess what? That kid's going to assume that he can't lose. That's just the way it is. If you've built that in his confidence or her confidence, and you tell them and repeat these things over and over and over, even though they've never had a chance to compete, they're going to always believe that they can't lose. Why? Because daddy told me I can't lose. So it's no different for the way you do it for your wife. So take that to truth. And this last thing I say, the I statements. I feel, instead of you did, I know. This is stuff that you have heard, I am sure, in grade school. And if you've heard it in grade school and you're still here, then you understand why I'm talking about it again, because you didn't use it well in grade school. This is something that does work. I'll tell you this, it's not perfect, right? Because when you really high, I feel you could use it incorrectly. I feel that you're being an itch. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not the way you need to use that. It's not how it's supposed to go. It's really about you feeling. I feel bothered by the way this conversation is going. I feel upset that this is happening. I don't like the fact that this is, instead of you are causing the problem, that's the blaming, right? The faster you can switch it to the I statement, it takes the pressure off of the other person from always making it seem like, again, they can't do anything right. You got to find a way to fix that. So again, the blame game, the criticizing game is not going to get you anywhere. It will stop a conversation from progressing. It will only go forward with more fire, more tenacity, more flames. Now, it's just not going to help anyone get anywhere. So take this, try it, test it out. Let me know your comments and like, comment, subscribe, all those good things. All right. If you like this, check out part 4 coming up on this, and we'll talk to you soon. See you.